Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to the 1K World Cup 2025 presented by Joke. We are back once again with the widest seed discrepancy of a match that we have so far this weekend. Earlier today we had the closest in 66% Canadian and Sweden. Now we've got Japan taking on the Random States A team. As one might mention, or one might imagine, it is just a assortment of 4 players that had to get through the elimination stage last weekend and managed to punch their ticket into the round of 16. So already coming together to accomplish great things, but this might be their biggest test yet, going up against our number 1 seed in Japan. And by the looks of it, a full-strength Japan. Grape Tea and HZ404 are in the lobby, so you might imagine the kind of scores we're in for. But you can't go to the show if you don't buy a ticket, and the Random States A squad certainly have punched their ticket into this match. As always, my name is Sparky, and I'll be doing a bit of a solo job here in the commentary booth here as we make our way through the back half of the weekend now. We're officially halfway through. And we see the rolls coming out here. Dolan with the 83, making a visit to the Realm of Mania from their usual realm in Standard. Always exciting to see more players trying out the 1K game mode. And we have Japan with the 32. So Random States A will get the first roll in this match. And it looks like they're going to go for Classic 5. So just ripping the Band-Aid off here, going for probably the on paper hardest rice pick in this pool, the speed pick from Joke 2 round of 16, if I recall correctly. Slun Lot going to be their first choice here. And we wait to see who will be contesting on this pick. See 3 Japanese players in the lobby right now. And Dolan. Looks like it's going to be M Biscuit and Dolan for Random States A going up against Grape Tea and Zoro Takahashi. Don't believe we saw them last weekend or the weekend before, which would have been the qualifiers, but always nice to see a full assortment of players getting their time in the spotlight. So we'll have to see what they bring to the table here. Grape Tea, a known commodity, former Joke tournament champion, or current reigning one actually, Joke 3 being the last major iteration. As we wait for the players to get ready. I think we have everybody raring and ready to go. I imagine a match of differing expectations. See what the Random States A squad can bring to the table here. And see what kind of scores Japan can put on the table. I imagine 990k might be the bar for them. At least for their lofty standards, as looks like Dolan didn't actually start playing here. It is the beginning of the map, so might call a bit of a mulligan here and wait to see what our ref does. But as we get this one underway, an unfortunate start if they do opt to kind of take it on the chin here. I mean, probably in their perspective, probably isn't going to change much, but you kind of do want to get things off to the right foot here, especially with M Biscuit holding onto the third highest accuracy in this lobby, 99.85, being on par with Sora Takahashi across the lobby from them. Grape Tea, of course, just absolutely demolishing this chart at the moment, flirting with the 100% mark, just picking up a couple of 300s to bring him below the perfect marker. And as we transition on into the first major triplet roll, Sora Takahashi actually going to be the first one to find a drop for Japan. Doesn't really do much to the score overall, but that is an FC off the table for Japan. As transitioning into what is the hardest part of the song, both Dolan and M-Biscuit doing a pretty good job in their own right. M-Biscuit is finally falling off their perch a little bit during that section. It is pretty hard to get through relatively unscathed. I think Dolan actually gaining in terms of overall accuracy, being able to hold on to a pretty significant combo for themselves here as they transition back on into the triplets, and able to at least transition out of them relatively cleanly as we make our way to the last couple of notes of the chart. And Japan will be taking the first break point in this match. 4. You're telling me that Grape Tea was 4 300s away from 1 milling slung lot. Okay. Alright. I know the bar was high, but oh my lord, that is a ridiculous score. Sora with the supporting score, 935k, a pretty impressive one. M-Biscuit actually putting up a pretty respectable score on this chart, 959k, very competitive overall. As we wait for Japan to throw out their first pick in this match, and it is going to be Classic 1, wasting no time, going straight for hide and seek. And it looks like Dolan, the early issues for them on Slon Lot was a keyboard disconnect. That's unfortunate. But I think true to their word, if there was ever a time for it to happen, I think this match, of all matches that they're going to have this tournament, would be the one to have the technical issues. When I want it to be in a much closer stakes match later on down the road. Of course, both teams in the winner's bracket, loser of this match, not eliminated compared to last week, so no fear of elimination for Random States A this weekend. Did well to fend that off last weekend. Just going to drop down into that lower bracket if things don't go their way here. It looks like Hertz is going to be in for this one in place of Grape Tea. The players are ready. We're going to get into the second map of this best of 9. Japan with the early break point. Going into arguably our most straightforward rice pick in this pool. Getting things underway, everybody kind of settling in here. First couple of streams handled relatively well by everybody, give or take a couple of 200s here and there. Dolan picking up the first couple of breaks in the lobby, and M-Biscuit keeping pace with Hertz for the moment, only about a 10th of a percent behind them. But the battle between Dolan and Sora being won handily by Sora and going to be accounting for most of the lead that Japan is picking up here. As we continue on, already a quarter of the way through the chart, the lead 100,000 plus and growing. But everybody kind of settling in, getting into the rhythm of these even and odd based streams, a couple of drops here and there, but outside of that, everybody doing a pretty good job overall with what's being presented to them. The doublets not catching out anybody really, even when they get into these longer even space streams. Not really giving anybody too much of an issue. It's just when you start really varying up the stream lengths is when the drops really do happen. As we get into the back half of the chart, a third left to go here, transitioning into the triplet runs, long streams. Can everybody make it through the LNs? Dolan picking up the drop there, but able to pick up right where they left off into the second triplet stream. Able to handle out much better here this time around, going back into the doubles, into the 1-2s. And so far, I mean, sure, the score is not going to do it much justice, but the overall performance for Random States A, very good. M-Biscuit just really showing what they are capable of as a individual one-key player. Very strong accuracy overall for their team, but Japan having the team score overall going to make it 2-0. 11 300s for HZ. Very strong showings overall. M-Biscuit with the V1SS as well, tacking on an extra 1 on the 300 count, but I mean, you take a 994K any day of the week. That is going to be one of the top scores of the weekend on this one. And Random States A going for new 2. So going to get to hear Null Parse once again. Banger of a song. Very happy it gets included here, but it is a nightmare of a chart to play. Very tricky overall, and I imagine the Random States are picking this more for the musical aspect of it rather than the chart aspect of it. Be interested to see what the team score from Japan is on this, given its very swingy nature, very awkward to tell what snappers will be playing at any given time. You go into these quick 1/4 doublets into non-standard 1-2 taps that just undulate to and fro, that it can really throw you off. That's not to mention any of the other polyrhythmic nightmares that exist in this chart as well. So curious eyes will learn what the scores will be from Japan on this chart. And the Random States A just kind of vibing along for the ride. See if they can beat their own expectations here as we get on into this third map. See an early accuracy drop from HZ, just an extra, I want to say just a rush of 300s, but quickly just building right back up where they left off. And everybody able to hold on to some semblance of combo here. I think Dolan picking up a early drop, and a second one there as well. Kind of just trying to hang on as best as they can, while everybody else kind of just settles in. M-Biscuit next one to drop as well. Both FCs gone for the Random States A. HZ and Grape T just in near lockstep with each other, as we have come to expect from this duo. Picking up right where they left off from the last iteration of the 1K World Cup, just playing off each other so well. As we get into the first breakdown, these doublets playing pretty much like they have the entirety of the chart. You just tack on that LN tail on the second one. Some 1/6 bursts as well, just for good measure. Some triplet bursts as a fine little cherry on top of what is already a just mess of polyrhythmic streams to read through. As we make our way into the last third of the chart, HZ actually gonna pick up a drop here, but picking up right where they left off, only taking about 0.3% in terms of overall damage. Grape T, the only FC left in the lobby. And another drop from HZ. It was just misreading some of these structures. Very easy to do so. You feel like you're locking into a specific rhythm, and then the switch up, all of a sudden you go from a quick 1/4 into the 1/2, or it's a different sequence than what you're expecting, and That's when the major mistakes start to come out, but still in that 99% range. As the chart comes to an end, a 995k from Grape Tea. Going to make it 3-0, 1-200. But it just goes to show you, like, there are maps that can cause this team a little bit of trouble. And I'm pretty sure other high-seeded teams might look at that and be like, all right, maybe there are some openings here. And now we wait for Japan to throw out their second pick in this match, an opportunity to make it a match point situation right out of the gate here. It's just a matter of what they decide to go for. Maybe something on the shorter end of drain time. Or just something that they can kind of sharpshoot. And old map, Got Noir Forever, is a pretty good one to go into if you want to really test your transitional skills. Very rice-based, but very technically demanding. The streams get very interpretive. 1-to-1, don't get me wrong, you're not kind of hanging in midair trying to figure out what you're supposed to latch onto. It's very telegraphed in what it's supposed to do, but the, I guess, freeform jazz nature of the chart, like fusion jazz, kind of lives up to the billing here, as we're going to see some wild changes in some of these longer 1-4 streams as Sora checks back in for Japan. We wait for the players to get ready here. We can continue on with proceedings. We are now underway with map 4 in this best of 9. Japan on the cusp of a match point situation. As we begin the only OD10 map in this map pool, a relic of Joke 1. As Sora actually picked up the first drop in this map, going to give Random States a bit of a lead to work with here. 2,000 points to the good, a pretty nasty miss from Sora, gonna drop them down, but Dolan finding the trade in return. Much messier one in by comparison. As the streams begin to pick up in snap variety, these 1/8s begin to rain down and going to damage their accuracy, going to give the lead right back to Japan. But for the briefest of moments here, Random States A actually holding on to a lead for a short amount of time. And I noticed M-Biscuit said that they were going to change the scroll speed. I didn't think they were going to change it that drastically. I think that's down to, looks like 15 scroll speed, maybe 14, if I were to hazard a guess. Helps them get through some of these longer streams, maybe helps differentiate what they're supposed to be playing. Does find the break before too long, but I can't blame them. Those changes happen so rapidly, and if you're not ready for it on the proper hand, you're going to get taken for a bit of a ride. And everybody in this lobby, save for Grape Tea, having a bit of a struggle through that last section. Nobody above that 99% mark, save for Grape Tea, who, of course, just the standard of near perfection as we've come to expect from them. With a 1/8 of the map left to go, we begin to wind things down. The worst of the chart is behind us. Last couple of notes begin to rain down. Last couple of streams to read through. And Japan will make it 4-0 with a 31-300 V1SS. And like I said, everybody in this lobby putting up some pretty good scores overall, but just the team performance from Japan just being that a couple of steps higher in the context of this one. And Classic 2 going to be the pick for Random States A. It's going to be Aqua Stars coming through here. As most we're going to see HZ and Brave T check back in. One of the couple of maps that we have just shy of 2 minutes. Grape Tea, Joke 2, quote-unquote semi-finals. Listen, it was a much different time. I went back to look at some old MP links from when I played in it, and that was 4 years ago. Things have changed quite a bit in terms of what the bar for for one key mapping is. I don't recall my score on this particular map, but given what I saw in my round of 16 scores, it probably wasn't good, but that's neither here nor there. We're officially underway with map 5 of a potential 9 here. Japan looking to try and close this out. And Random States A looking to just see if they can keep one of these within striking distance. Strong starts from them to start this one off, but lagging behind in terms of overall accuracy. And as we get through this interlude, all these LNs raining down. Going back into the 1-4 streams, everybody transitioning into it relatively cleanly. Stalling and pick up a drop after the triplet tap transitions. Going back on into it, actually doing a pretty sizable job through this. It is a really hard map to read through once it really gets into the real meat and potatoes. Last quarter of the chart coming through here. And as the last 8 begins, it is the same order of business as we have seen from Japan. Basically, anytime we see them just taking care of business, closing things out as soon as humanly possible. Nearly identical score lines from both of them. And Japan will take it. Our number 1 seed moves on to the quarterfinals. That's 12. Okay, 12 300s of a difference between the two of them. And that will do it. Random States A, as I mentioned, not out of the tournament just yet. Just going to need to make the run in the losers bracket. Won't have to face off against Japan again anytime soon. I don't think many teams can really swing against this team, but there are some that will give it a really good shot. But we'll probably see that later on in the tournament. So once again, congratulations to Japan, closing it out and setting up a date with Sweden, who honestly, pretty good team scores this weekend against 66% Canadian. Map was going to get a little bit harder if they can kind of scale at the same level as they have been these last couple of weekends, that could potentially be a pretty spicy matchup. I'm not gonna lie. And the Random States A will face off against 66% Canadian in the losers bracket next weekend. As we're gonna start, that's the end of the first of a couple of matches here. Got a pretty hefty block to go through. Next one's going to be Peru Esclave versus China in about 35 minutes. But for right now, I'll be signing off. Take a bit of a break, and we'll catch you guys later.